Disclaimer on the following video, this is an ongoing legal case that pretty much questioning the authenticity of the cease and desist letter sent by said Toei Intellectual Property Office, and as of 9:59 PM of the 13th of April 2021, tv-nihon is currently investigating the letter questioning its authenticity that they are legally required to retract these videos from their website. However, this video was recorded 20 minutes prior to the new updates. However, you'll have to listen to in my opinions exactly on what will happen next. But for now, this is still ongoing and the future is very uncertain about this legal case. Well, I just got back from work and I wasn't really expecting anything to come out really specially. I was expecting to write the script for the SH Figuarts Kamen Rider Black, which is going to get released within the next few days or so. More on that later. I guess I can pretty much stop it from there. I won't tell you anymore. I'm just going to keep it as is. But as soon as I got back from work, or at least as soon as I finished, and there's something really weird just popped up, and I was not expecting this to come out. Well, it sort of kind of became predictable as soon as we found this out, but I want to get straight to the chase. Toei exactly did the unthinkable, and while they do have the power to push litigation and lawsuits to a lot of people, hell, they could probably sue me for defamation because I am using a character of their own rights, and then I'm probably using it in the most defamatory way. Come at me, bitch! Fucking sue me, you cunts. But that's not exactly the point. And I think it really comes down to essentially how are you watching these shows, and if you watch these contemporary shows, sort of, I do watch a bit of Zenkaiger on the upside. Sometimes there are a few episodes that reel me in, but nothing special is really happening to push me back into the series, so I've been kind of on and off with that. Kamen Rider Saber, I really don't care for that show, and apparently that's still a thing, and it still has episodes coming soon. And we all know, and I will not be naming anybody aside from the person who has been affected by this, tv-nihon. Well, they're not exactly one person, they're essentially a group of subbers, and if you know tv-nihon for quite some time, you've probably been living in the 2000s and noticed that their work is quite on par with anything that pretty much existed within anime fan subs in the 2000s. Anything that I can anything that's comparable to it, if I can find something that's comparable for it, I think it would be Kaizoku fan subs would be the greatest comparison in terms of like the exact sort of ethics and behavioral kind of tactics that tv-nihon would adapt to their own fan subs. Particularly the ones where they have to leave out untranslated mess because they can't be bothered translating it, or it has to do with some sort of stupid sacramental meaning that they don't want to translate it, otherwise it'll pretty much ruin the, I don't know, narrative or something. It's a fucking TV show, really. Do they have to exactly put in these translator notes every single time that we have to watch the show? It is kind of annoying, yes, and it really is one of the worst things to come by. You might as well just give out the book of translator notes and put it in a separate document so people can read it on their own time. And over the years, they started kind of improving, going back to their older fan subs and trying to rectify this, particularly with the Deca Ranger fan subs that I kind of looked at when I was trying to get screen caps for the 12 Days of Sentai Miss for Deca Ranger episodes, and I've seen the fan subs are drastically changed from that. And I was hugely surprised by the fact that they were able to go back and forth with their older subtitled releases and then undo the unthinkable, but realistically, pretty much it was easier said than done, because considering that most people had the older releases anyway. Also, they're still releasing stuff on AVI, you gotta be kidding me, or is that now on MP4s? I think they might have changed that now, but I have not gotten a release in a long time to speak about the file formats that they use for the releases, but again, that's not really what I am here for, exactly that. And then there was this. Toei has finally just put down the cease and desist because somebody snitched, or at least that they just found out, because apparently they were the biggest ones to come by. They were pretty much the biggest target because they were essentially one of the biggest subgroups out of all the bunch of those subgroups that I cannot name for safety reasons, legal reasons. I guess I could say legal reasons, but just to disclose the fact that I do not want these people to pretty much be put in the spotlight. Obviously, TV-nihon, they have pulled their torrents off, and pretty much every single one of them is gone, but exactly, I don't know if we're getting much of a loss here. Some people will be crying, and some people would be getting mad. And I'm kind of confused for momentarily because, well, I can say that for a fact that these releases are saved to some extent or one another. Realistically, I don't know what will happen for the future of these releases, but the fact remains is that some of these releases have been archived, preserved, and that really isn't much of a concern when it comes to preservation purposes. Now, when it comes to the future, as in at least tomorrow or the next episode coming in, because most of these releases have been getting released at least 3 days or 2 days after it gets released, and they just released the subtitles for it. TV-nihon does their hard subtitles, which means that they are pretty much melded within the video file, so you can't get the... So if you're trying to make like a music video or something, or remix, or you're trying to source out some of the episodes without the subtitles, that's not going to happen when you go to TV-nihon. You could find it somewhere else, but definitely not TV-nihon. Now, I can think of exactly 4 reasons about why this exactly kind of came to this conclusion, and why Toei exactly tried to pull the ban hammer, cease and desist on particularly TV-nihon. My first reason exactly comes from the ramped up copyright laws that have been kind of really been in circulation since 2020 or so. They've been attempting to pretty much amp up their copyright laws or intellectual property laws since they're trying to ramp up on stopping internet piracy. And I think this is probably why this sort of came by. But it came at the time when Kiss Anime was shutting down because of this, and several other anime streaming sites that were pretty much pirating in the same vein were also shutting down because of this new copyright law revision from Japan. That's sort of kind of where... This is more of the logical link, I would say, the most, that kind of really enforces this justification. My second problem is that obviously piracy will be a service problem, and the philosophy comes from Gabe Newell, as he will be talking about Steam. And we all know that because there is no way we can watch these shows easily, and it becomes a service problem because Toei isn't providing the service to us, particularly these shows as new. Well, obviously as new because it's only getting broadcast in Japan. They only have the rights to broadcast in Japan anyway, and they still don't have any sort of the aftermarket releases to international audiences. And they sort of do now with the Toei DVD releases that they're kind of be pushing out with Shout Factory in conjunction with that. But already you're really limiting a lot of these shows outside of Japan particularly, and there's attempts to pretty much push that, but they're doing it very poorly. Particularly the Toei World channel, which is essentially using the YouTube masters. A lot of these shows haven't been released on DVD, so they're just using like tape masters or whatever they can just get that was easily sourceable, and then they just don't put subtitles on it. Well, subtitles aren't exactly the biggest deal, but the problem with the subtitles is that you're expecting people to translate these shows for free with no compensation. They can go fuck themselves with that. Like, seriously. I think that might have been the rumor, but exactly this is apparently the one justification or one claim that some people have made why there was no more subtitled releases on the Toei World channel on YouTube. And obviously the third reason could have been the fandom. Well, obviously the fandom is kind of a touchy subject when it comes to this, because I am talking to my audience and I'm talking to you guys, people watching this video particularly, and not to offend anybody, but really essentially that we are a weird bunch, and I am not going to blame that because I am part of that fandom as well. Well, to a small extent, but I'll say I'll just be a part of it anyway. Screw it. But we are a kind of a weird bunch, and there are a lot of people in varying age groups, particularly from the youth to about 4 to 6 and 7 to 12 or so. You know, those people, you know, children, like what we used to be. We used to be children at one point, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. And we also have the mid-teens, and then we have us adults and young adults particularly who like the show so much that we grew up with it, and it's pretty much engraved ourselves into our brains that we pretty much live with it. Not gonna lie, I pretty much made my whole entire life in based around tokusatsu, but a few years ago I'd been trying to get out of it, and now it reels me back in, and it's like, yeah, I think I should pretty much stick with that. But that's besides the point. There are a lot of people that are willing to take inherited risks when it comes to fandom. They just do like some stupid ass shit, but you know, they started actually communicating with the producer as some sort of form of fan mail, and well, Twitter is essentially a new form of complaints, or you know, fan mail. Is back in the day, you would actually have to mail in the studio and then expect that to actually even come through. Now, with the touch of, you know, that one app that everybody uses to complain about something so small that they actually make it a big deal, they just send that immediately to the producer, and the producer is questioned about how they're watching these shows exactly if it's only broadcasting in Japan. Well, I think... Now, I think of many things that also makes me scratch my head about that response. It's pretty brash to say that exactly why you're watching these shows despite the fact you've never been given access to these shows, but it's also the fact that you're also given access to some form or another through pictures, or even just like Raws in particular through their own streaming web services. I think that comes into mind. I can't remember what the service was, but it's apparently a new one, so I don't really care so much about the streaming services. Heck, I don't think I have that much money to pretty much shelve out for another streaming service, because apparently there's so many out there that I don't really care so much about watching it anymore. And I'm not really having the time to binge on anything, so I'm not really that kind of into the mix of streaming services. Now, yes, of course, the response was obviously brash, kind of rude, and it kind of really came off as impolite as such. But it also became very questionable as well, that at the same time they're pretty much doing exactly the things that you think they shouldn't be doing, or whatever it is. I think that should pretty much put that to rest, is exactly that. I think that there is a lot of people who could be put to account for this kind of thing, but I don't think I want to be pointing names at people exactly, because I don't know who's exactly at stake here. I don't even know who the people are exactly who pretty much culprated into this or snitched. But I'm going to leave it at that. But the fourth reason I also kind of brought it up earlier, but about the new shout releases that have been coming out. A little birdie told me that something is happening to Sentai, but for legal reasons I cannot disclose that. Apparently there will be, however, new Kamen Rider releases obviously coming out. 01 Ryuki is starting to come out in DVD and Blu-ray in Shout Factory releases, although even though it's only in the United States, us smart people would probably outside the United States would import that, get a region-free Blu-ray player, and then play that shit on their TV. Simple as that. Easy as 1, 2, 3. We had to find ways, but somehow we managed. I can't exactly pinpoint when Ryuki and 01 will get released, but they apparently are happening, so we all know that's going to happen at some point. And in fact, most of the releases from Super Sentai, starting from Jetman to Hurricaneer, are also available in some form or another for about $60 a pop. So that's not much of a big deal when it comes to that. I can get those anytime I want to, as long as they're in circulation, that is. Now, despite the fact that tv-nihon would no longer be putting any more releases, thanks in part to this cease and desist, this pretty much puts the bed on a lot of the new releases. The future of Fansubs is very uncertain for one point. And I know this is going to be touchy, because we all know that a lot of these shows are coming in some form or another, but realistically, Toei is kind of this stubborn motherfucker who really does not want these people to watch these shows in their preferred way as possible. You know, with English subtitles and proper translation and all the fantasies that we pretty much been putting our minds into that we wanted to. Although there are a lot of people that watch fan subs for certain different reasons, because, you know, not a lot of people do understand Japanese. And I do have a minimal amount of understanding of Japanese, but I really don't have the expertise unless I was working in translation. And here we are. We don't even have many ways to watch these shows. If you're really watching these contemporary shows for many reasons or another, and it's pretty much going to a point, it's like, what the hell is going to happen next? Are we not going to watch these shows forever? Are we going into a meltdown? Well, that is pretty much unpredictable, and I am very interested to hear what is going to happen next. Which is going to be a very extravagant era of fan subs pretty much coming to a close. But I'm under the impression that this might not be happening suddenly, although the response to this may be very apparent, that they may be some control freaks who pretty much push their releases down, and there'll be some people that will pretty much stand against authority and say, screw that, we'll pretty much keep going until the end, or, you know, they're pretty much going to fight against Toei, and they're going to have to find a legal reason why, which obviously I don't know how that's going to go well, particularly if one country has particular set of jurisdictions that are different from the other, and that's kind of really pushed that mentality of, well, try to sue me, cunt.